Today I'm going to quickly talk about Hulk and why I think he might actually be the Avenger to save everyone in Avengers 4. And there will be spoilers during this entire video, so keep that in mind. There is one question that I've heard a lot of people ask, which is why didn't Hulk want to come out? Bruce Banner was consistently on his own throughout Infinity War. Every time Banner tried getting Hulk to take over, he would struggle to even turn green. When in the Hulkbuster, Bruce said now is the time to come out, but Hulk just screams no. And this has to do with the story in Avengers Age of Ultron and Thor Ragnarok, specifically him not being able to take anyone on. When we were introduced to Hulk in the first Avengers film, he defeated Loki, aka the main villain, and other massive aliens. He was probably the strongest Avenger at that point in time. But now the fact that Hulk would be unleashed on S.H.I.E.L.D.'s ship is somewhat of a minuscule threat in comparison to other enemies that we later see in the MCU. And that's the thing, Hulk really isn't a threat anymore. In Avengers Age of Ultron, he loses the fight against Stark in the Hulkbuster, and could only then take on weaker versions of Ultron before he banished himself from Earth. He was winning against other weaker opponents when fighting in the arena on Sakaar. That was until Thor came along and bested him, until Thor was unfairly knocked out by the Grandmaster. Later in Ragnarok, he wasn't able to take on Surtur, which is not really a surprise, but it further shows us that the more these space storylines are introduced to the MCU, the more Hulk realizes he's no longer the strongest Avenger, and there are way bigger and badder things out there that he cannot take on. In the first Avengers film, he could easily beat up the main villain, and since that moment, Loki was terrified of Hulk. Now Loki reuses Tony Stark's iconic line, "We have a Hulk," at the beginning of Infinity War. It really makes you reflect on how far we've come. We expected Hulk to smash and save the day, but he is once again defeated, as Thanos is just too powerful after obtaining 2 of the Infinity Stones. The more we see him challenge these villains, the less time he is able to fight them, as he's becoming less of a threat. The duration of the fights becomes shorter as well. On top of this, the aftermath of Age of Ultron still haunts him. During a fight between Thor and Hulk in Ragnarok, Thor angrily says, "You know what? Earth does hate you." And Hulk falls silent and stops being outraged, and then is just full of self-hatred and sadness. And you could make a good point that in Infinity War, Hulk knows that he's back on Earth, so he does not want to destroy anything else, or hurt any more people just like the previous events in Ultron. And because of this, he says no to Bruce. But the main reason he is not coming out is most likely because he is not strong enough, and he's not able to take on this huge threat. Hulk had a lot of growing up to do in the past few years, and he now realizes that he is not the strongest thing out there. But what does this all have to do with Hulk saving the day? Hulk may have lost to Thanos, but it was great that we saw the two of them fight, because now we know they're roughly around the same size. And in a previous video, I discussed how Tony Stark has to play a big part in defeating Thanos, as Doctor Strange sacrificed his life to save Tony's, and kills half the population in hopes that they will go down the one successful path out of 14 million that end up defeating Thanos. Tony is not the only one who will save the day though. Every single one of the original Avengers made it to the end, after Thanos killed 50% of the population. No doubt each Avenger will have an important role to play, and Hulk will have to overcome his fear of not being able to win a fight against every villain, and I think he will overcome this fear in Avengers 4. If the Avengers successfully take off Thanos' Infinity Gauntlet, they would need someone to wield it, someone who would have to activate the stones to fully utilize their power. Since Hulk is around the same size as Thanos, it seems that Hulk would have to be the one to wear the gauntlet, and use it to activate the Time Stone and bring half the population back from the dead. Meaning Hulk would go from a character who's always being bested and outmatched by new opponents from space, to the most powerful thing in the universe once he is able to hold the Infinity Gauntlet in his hand. Plus, if he ends up saving everyone with the gauntlet, he will earn back the respect of Earth as well. And this would all complete Hulk's arc, taking place over the course of each Avengers film and Ragnarok. And those were my quick thoughts on how Hulk will play a huge part in defeating Thanos in Avengers 4, Avengers Infinity War Part 2, or whatever they call it. If you guys like everything sci-fi and the Marvel Cinematic Universe, please make sure to subscribe to see more MCU analyzed. And I will see you guys in my next Infinity War video.